Hello, welcome to another best of all fans tested. This time it's my roundup for 2024 because I don't really see myself testing too many more in this time period. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So first up in testing is the best of fans going through the CPU air cooler, noise normalized at both a 10.5 decibel rating and 18 decibel rating. And this is noise normalized decibel rating, so I subtract out the room ambient noise. So once again, still at the very tippy top, I have the P28. The scores are weighed against two parts for the 10.5 decibel rating, and so out of 3 points, 1 point is given to the 18 decibel rating. So there will be ones that do perform better at each of the performance ratings, so do pay attention for it. So 18 decibels in ambient room noise is something like, so 30 plus 18 is like 48 decibels. So we got the P14 Max in second place. The A12X25 is still holding up strong. That fan is doing insanely well still. Tough Fan 12 Pro, then P12 Max with the fluid dynamic bearing. That is key. Make sure you get that. The Loop FT P140. And you can kind of visually scroll down. We got the Mega Cool 120. The Super Flower. That fan was insane at higher RPMs. And the worst of the bunch, it's still not bad at all, is the Pure Wings 3140. So it performs pretty well. And then, of course, there are some outliers in here, like the Apex Stealth Black, where it actually performs really well at that higher noise level, but does not so well at more reasonable lower noise levels. With a viewer suggestion, I've added fixed RPM ratings, and over here I have the weighing factor for how it's calculated. So the Iceberg Thermal Extra wins this at 800 RPM and its noise level. Then we have the Mega Cool 140, the Unifan AL140 version 2. The Pastel does well here. So it kind of really mixed it up because it's looking more at airspeed than it is at noise. But I do have that decibel rating listed on here. Then we crank it up to 1500 RPM. And I have my weighing factor over here. It's now weighed more towards airspeed, a little bit less towards noise. If you guys like these weighing factors or don't want them at all or want it shifted in a different direction, please let me know. If I put too much weighing factor onto the noise performance as opposed to airspeed, then we're just going to get very quiet fans and perhaps ones that don't perform very well. But I haven't played around with that too much. This is just the way I've decided to do it so far. We got the Tough Fan 14 Pro. I liked that one. P14 Max is another top pick that I liked. And the A14X 25G2 is another top pick. These are fans I actually bought and kept and have sitting around my house now. Not all of them in current builds. Hopefully coming soon. Mega Cool 120 is in here. And you can see their performance ratings. As we move up to 2000 RPM, the Iceberg Thermal Extra is still technically ranked number 1 because it's somehow slightly quieter than the Tough Fan 14 Pro at this RPM. But the Pro pushes more air. So again, you got to choose what's important, I guess. Mega Cool 120, Swalfan GT 14 Airflow version, Mega Cool 140. I haven't stated it in this video. Fans that have this bracket are fans that I've tested since my move to my new house. I've normalized everything as best as I can, but technically it's a different room environment. So just in case something has changed, I've put the bracket on it as a way of indicating that it was tested in a new environment, so it may not line up exactly perfectly. But I've normalized it and did a couple tests of other fans had to use as baseline test fans as comparison, and they lined up very closely within 1 decibel. But 1 decibel can shift a fan's score up or down by quite a few spaces because, I mean, you can see on here how tightly many of them are packed. And let's bump it up. So there aren't too many fans that go over 2,000 RPM, but these are the ones that hit 2,500 RPM. We got the Megacool 140, we got the P14 Max, the Iceberg Thermal Extra 120, Megacool 120, Unifan P28, NFA14 3000 RPM, TLB12 Extreme as some of the top picks, and you can visually, take a look at it. And now best of the best at 100% PWM fan signaling. I applied a small weighting factor to it where I incorporated a little bit of noise performance into it because I wanted to try to sift out the data a little bit to take into account that noise situation. So for example, jumping in here to like the P28, technically it doesn't move as much air as the B14, but it is half as loud. So how much does that extra performance matter to you? So that weighing factor allowed for this sort of positioning. If you guys don't like it, it's easy for me to remove it from the data. If you guys like it or want me to actually put more weighing on the noise, just let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to change things up. This is just the way that occurred to me to do it. But the top pick is the Megacool 120, followed by the Iceberg Thermal Extra 120, P12 Max Fluid Dynamic Bearing version, Megacool 140, P14 Max, T30, and a whole bunch more as we go down. The bottom end of these, quote, better fans in this, I don't know how many of them I put on here, maybe 20, is the P120 Pro. And over here on the right side, we have the ranking for the overall ranking for these fans in all the tests. So the P28, the P14 Max, or I should say only in the cooler, the ranking in that, and going to the last place. So I didn't put them all into one graph because there are lots of them that just sort of sit close into the middle. So if I was you, I would be looking for a fan that would be sitting right in this tight group, not these fans that sit a little bit lower that are more outliers. So you do want to be looking into this tighter grouping up top, and in particular, the Megacool does really quite well without being crazy noisy. Well, it is still crazy noisy, but moves a crap ton of air at its higher RPM range and is kind of quieter for that amount of airflow compared to other ones. So for maximums, it's very much the fan to pick. Doing the same thing, but taking a look at it in SON. SON is just a different way of taking a look at the data. I have a whole video on my channel if you want to learn more about SON. And the Thick FTP 120 was this one that sort of sits down below. So it still technically is a top-ranked fan, but it just underperforms compared to the upper echelon best of the best. Now we're on to which fans are the best in case airflow. Well, this is a more complicated question because it does depend on what size computer case you do plan on buying. I took measurement locations at the 6, the 9, the 11, and the 14.5 inch marks. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that those line up to key measurement lengths for a lot of average computer cases, let's say. So really, 9-inch mark is your compact towers. The 11-inch mark would be your standard mid towers, 14.5 would be your truly large towers, and 6-inch mark would be fans that you put at the bottom of your case and below towards your GPU, just as a simplistic type view. So the best for smaller cases is the Silent Wings 4 Pro, but for larger cases, we need to take a look at this green line, and that's the Air Penetrator 184i ARGB. Now, it wins by default because it's a 180 millimeter class fan. They do so much better than anything else in bigger cases. Now you can put, if your case can hold 3 140s, they will beat 2 180s. Three 120s will lose to two 180s. And yeah, let's leave it at that. Anyways, but going to with regular size fans, the SilentWings 4 Pro does really quite well. This cross belongs to the Fan 14 GT reverse blade. It did really quite well. In here, we also have this little diamond, and that belongs to the Shark Force 160, I do believe. So you can see that in this test, generally speaking, in bigger cases, 140s tend to do better than 120s. But really good 120s do better than very poorly designed 140s. At noise normalized 18 decibel mark, allowing the fans to stretch their proverbial legs a little bit more. The Air Penetrator 180 still does really well at bigger cases, but now we have the NF A14 3000 RPM fan, where it's largely caught up with it at most case sizes and situations, except for the very biggest computer cases. The Air Penetrator 140i does really quite well in this test. It's an air penetrator. It's that fan's very specific type design. It is its very much role in life to be able to focus airflow. So just that as a general note. So, and sort of the bottom ranked fan here are actually two X2 GP14s. They're two of the fans that come with the Fractal Design Torrent PC case. And they're perfectly adequate fans, but it's just kind of a showcase for not everything is always as it would seem for computer cases. So it depends on how much it matters to you. And taking a look at, in bar graph form, how they rank at those specific RPMs. So we can see the Air Penetrator really sitting at the top, the X2 GP18, the 180 that comes in the Torrent coming in second, then the 160 Shark Force. And then we have the NFA 20. I just got finished saying that bigger fans tend to do better in these tests. Well, here's case in point. But in terms of regular size fans, we got the F14, then the A14 X25 G2 SilentWings Pro 4, Tough Fan 14 Pro, and so on and so forth as you read through this graph. At a 1,500 RPM, Shark Force 160 is still alive and kicking. The X2 GP18 is still there. Air Penetrator 140, A14 X25 G2. And if we take a look at the bottom, but still kind of in this ranking, would be the Iceberg Thermal Extra 140 at 2,000 RPM. So you'll notice that a bunch of fans dropped out because they don't have that RPM. So now we're left with the Tough Fan 14 Pro, the Swell Fan 14 Reverse Blade, the Iceberg Thermal Extra, then the Shark Force 140, the A12X25 IPC 3000, the EK Loop FTP 140, assuming that EK survives whatever their chaos is going on within that company right now. And as we scroll down towards the bottom, the Mobius 120p ARGB. These are just the best fans at this specific RPM. And as we crank things up to 2,000 RPM, which is, or 2,500 RPM, I should say, which is crazy loud. We got the Iceberg Thermal Extra 140, the NFA 14 3000 IPC, the TLB12 Extreme, and I apparently have that listed twice for some reason. The Iceberg Thermal Extra 120, the Mega Cool 140, the P14 Max, the Unifan P28 are all among the top rated fans here. So noise versus that airspeed at the 9-inch mark across its range. Over here on the right side, once again, we have the rank and the fan model at this specific distance, basically. So we have, in first place, the 160. I didn't list all the fans. As a matter of fact, I ignored the larger diameter fans that weren't 140 just because there are fewer cases that actually can fit those fans properly. So I focused in on the standard 120s and 140 millimeter class fans. So you do, if you're trying to pick out the best of the best of the best, you want to look at the very tippy top, so the north side of the lines, And in here we have like the Loop FTP 140, the what's it called? Silewings 4 Pro is sitting in here, and the TLB12 Extreme all sit well towards the top. And an impressive result as a note, despite its limited RPM range, the TLS12W is a win in my book for being an incredibly cost-effective fan while still performing quite well overall. Well, towards the bottom end of this, we get fans like the Swafan 14 Reverse Blade and the Orange Line, the P14 Max, where they're still quite good, but they're just not quite as good as some of the other ones. So it's all in that scaling factor where you have to decide what is most important to you. And same data, just taking a look at it in Zone, and it drives home the point of how noisy some of these fans get. So like the A14 3000, it's more than twice as loud as, well, some of the other ones, but it's also moving a ton of air. Now we're on to the best of value. Value, once again, is just performance per dollar. It is not actual performance of these fans. You need to refer to the graphs earlier to get that actual performance data. So this would be if you needed fans for your computer case and you just wanted to fill up all the slots, but you're on a little bit of a budget. This is kind of where you'd look for what gives you the best bang for your buck. Again, if a fan is cheap enough, even if the performance is crap, it's still going to rank really well in this graph. Just like if a fan performs amazingly beyond superb, but it costs a lot, it would perform very badly on this graph. Or, you know, it's everywhere in between. So on here, we have the TLC12CS. I believe that's an RGB version. The TLS12S ranked really well. And these were triple packs, I do believe. And they are the most cost-effective way to buy fans, generally speaking. The TLE-E12B Extreme, the TLS12W ranks really well, the TLG12. And you can see how they rank for the 6 mark. And then I did a second one for the 11 mark, the TLS12S, the TLS12W, the TLC12C. We're seeing a lot of repeat names, aren't we? And all the way down. If we take a look at how their ranking is in value, going through the CPU or cooler, noise normalized. So this is an average of the ranking for noise normalized, both for the 10.5 and 18 decibel marks. I average those scores in their value, and for how it does at 100%. The TLC12C, the TLS12S. Are we reading the same names again? Well, you can see that the values changed, so you know it's a different data set. But generally speaking, fans that have a good value in case airflow usually have a pretty good value as coolers as well. It isn't how I would select a cooler fan, but it's here if you need to use it this way. And so, like, where is it? The P1214 Max White, the FDB one. You know, it's a pretty good value. It isn't at the top, but it's a pretty good value, all things considered. And these are just the best value fans. I didn't put the worst on here. And that leads us to the raw data. I'm going to walk you through it because I want you to be able to decipher this. Over here on the left side, we have a best overall. So this averages the rankings for the pretty much every section of the testing. And so if you wanted to get one fan to rule them all, just buy one fan to fill out your entire case, it would be the Loop FTP 140. Then in second place, it would be the Unifan P28, the Tough Fan 14 Pro, then the P14 Max. You get the idea, so on and so forth. Then in the next one, sort of a little bit towards the middle, if you can see my mouse cursor circling around it, this would be the best fans in cooler testing at my noise normalized results. So it's averaged the two scores together. So in first place, we got the P28, followed by the P14 Max, then the A12X25. So this is going up. So from bottom up. Loop FTP 140 was ranked 5th. P12 Arctic is ranked 12th. And the TLS-12s are ranked 25th. So you're starting to get the idea here. Then we have how they ranked through the fixed RPM tests. So you can go through that. Again, they go from 1 to 27, so starting 1 at the bottom, 27 at the top. It's not a top-down view because I just copied the data over from my Excel graph, and to make the graphs look pretty, I have it in this order system. Then in this bottom lines, it's performance through the CPU, not the CPU, through the case simulation test, and how they rank in the various tests. So the first one here is noise normalized at the 10.5 inch or at the 10.5 decibel mark. Then the second one is at the 18 decibel mark, and then the various RPM ones for their overall rankings. So the best of the best for going through the case simulation test is the Shark Force 160. And I'll just leave it up for a couple more seconds. But this is raw data. It belongs to me in this channel. Now for a little bit of talky talk, I guess. If you like the idea of what this channel is doing, want to think about supporting it, because this is a lot of work. You want to support supers, join me as a Patreon or YouTube membership. My two upper tiers on both those two platforms now have access to my raw data. So if you want to play around and just have it as a general guide, you can keep it and use it as that. If you're going to make video publications using my data, please don't, because that would be morally wrong. But anyways, if you got suggestions from our fans for me to take a look at in the future, just leave it in the comment section below. Have a great day. Hope to see you next time here on Computer Tech and More.